Are they real food or is it stimulation? You gotta know what real is, and I don't really know how to define real in an organic hologram setting that we're in, like such. But I'll do my best here. When you eat something that is cultivated, or if you deal with a person that is cultivated and they just regurgitate cultivated words, and it's the same thing as eating these cultivated plants and eating the cultivated animals that are not even real as well. The animals are living off the cultivated foods that are not natural, and the animals themselves have been bred to have certain characteristics, so they themselves are not natural. They are the mark of the beast and not the mark of nature or netter or what people call God, what have you, because God is formless and nameless, or whatever you want to call that is nameless. We're dealing with the supposed tangible, or what we see, which is a lie, or the light, Liet, or life, or Lief. So when someone, and it's the same thing with sexually transmitted diseases again. If a person, if you feel like you got a disease from someone, it's just that they stimulated it and brought it out of you. They brought their guilt to you, you brought your guilt to them, and then it brought out the physical form of guilt, which is STDs or what have you. It's the same thing with food. You anything, even if it's sparkling water, you become dependent on an external version, on the illusion, on the sense of need, because really people like to fulfill false needs just for that false sense of satisfaction. It's just like if you eat something you shouldn't, then your pancreas gets weakened by it, so you need carbonated water because the pancreas would produce the sodium bicarbonate to break down the food. So since you don't do that, you go external and you go reach for external sodium bicarbonate in however form it is, whether it's powder or in the water already, and you take it in so many times and stimulate the process that the pancreas would normally have a role of doing. And as you do that, the pancreas gets weaker and weaker and more dependent. It's the same thing with the body. As you get further and further away from consciously breathing from your diaphragm and consciously metabolizing the breath, locking the the sphincter and the pressing your tongue at the top of your mouth to where you lock the breath in, to where you fully metabolize it and can get everything out of it, you become more and more dependent the less you do that. You've trained yourself to breathe shallow, so then you think shallow because the air or that regulates your thinking. So everything else follows the orders, or your government, what you call the government for your cells. Your breathing is your government, basically. So as you get more and more dependent on the breath, you become more and more dependent in all ways. As you far further and further away from controlling the breathing, which is the control of life that you do have, because controlling the breathing controls everything else. So you become more and more dependent, and then as you become more dependent, then you eventually reach a point where you need a respirator. And people say that you're a vegetable or whatever. That's just a very extreme point of just being more dependent and wanting to be dependent, wanting to give up control, to give up responsibility. It's all, that's all it is. That's why people get dementia and Alzheimer's and all those things, because they want to be coddled and taken care of, and they continue to put things in their body, and continue in their ancestry puts things in their body at a subconscious level that keeps them in the state of comfort. And then people cater to it because they like to give into the false sense of satisfaction, caring for people that put themselves in a position to be cared for. It's all a sick circle. And that's why so much is of null, because people are just trying to fill a void. And it's just, the void is God. It's infinitude. It's not anything you can embrace or anything. It's just something that in this state of being that you can just observe. The more that you fight to fill it, the more distress that you'll deal with, the more dependent you'll become. Instead of filling your lungs with the ether and pushing the lungs outwardly and then pushing them in to change the pressure of the atmosphere, to change pressures in all ways in your life. Your money pressures, every pressure follows the pressure of the breath. My paperback books are on Amazon if you search R Bud Vegan. They're also in ebook form, PDF form if you email me royalt512 at yahoo.com. And you can come up here to fast on your own, set up a scheduled date. It's in California in Kings Canyon. Beautiful place on 70 acres.